Chris Dempsey, the birthday boy. Happy birthday. Nuggets got you a gift. And Christopher Marlowe.
Mine's in September.
All right, we'll remember that. Fellas, the last time these teams played in Denver in a playoff game, it ended a little differently. The Nuggets found a way tonight. Again, and it didn't start great. They were down 10 in the first quarter. Where did they find their inspiration to come back and win that game?
Yeah, so I just think sometimes you get punched in the gut a little bit before you punch back. And I thought for the Nuggets, that first quarter was Minnesota really just imposing its will on this basketball game. And then into that second quarter, into the third, it was the Nuggets really punching back. And I thought the aggressiveness level went through the roof. The defense in the third especially went through the roof. They just competed a whole lot harder. And once they started to do those things, the talent started to separate this game out.
Yeah, that first quarter was rough. Jokic was playing the facilitator, trying to get everybody involved, and the Nuggets weren't hitting. Minnesota was playing well. I thought the first 4 or 5 minutes of the second quarter, the Nuggets got in there and they started playing better. Got a little more aggressive on offense, a little more aggressive on defense. And I thought they held their own, and they got to halftime, and then in the third quarter, where Jokic started to pick it up, and that's where I think the game really turned.
All right, they shifted gears in the second quarter. Jeep shifting gears presented. And the second quarter, they scored 39 after being down 10 at the end of the first. They brought it, and you can thank the bench, guys. The bench gave them that spark. They were +6 in the non-Jokic minutes to start that second quarter. Jamal played a heavy hand in that, but the bench players came to ball early in this game.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, look, they start the second quarter for the majority of them do. And, one of the things that I think is a key in this series is the Nuggets bench's ability for the bench to win that battle. Look, Minnesota brings off Ayo Dosunmu.
ESPN just said the Denver Nuggets are going to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games after watching Nikola Jokic drop a triple-double and Jamal Murray score 32 points in a 116-105 win. And I need to stop you right there, ESPN. Because what you just watched was not a team that is going to win this series in 5 games. What you just watched was a team that almost lost Game 1 at home to a Timberwolves team that statistically had no business being that close. Let me break this down for you because nobody else will. The first 2 minutes of this video tell you everything you need to know. The Nuggets were down 10 points in the first quarter. 10 points. At home. In the playoffs. Against a Timberwolves team that everyone expected them to destroy. And the analysts are sitting there saying, oh, they just got punched in the gut and then they punched back. That is a nice story. That is a feel-good narrative. But that is not a championship team. That is a team that fell asleep at the wheel and got lucky that Minnesota forgot how to play basketball in the second half. Let me give you the real numbers that ESPN does not want you to hear. Jamal Murray scored 32 points. Sounds great, right? He was 7 for 22 from the field. 7 for 22. That is 31% shooting. He was 0 for 8 from 3. 0 for 8. He missed every single three-pointer he took. And the only reason he got to 32 points is because he shot 16 for 16 from the free throw line. 16 for 16. Hat is not sustainable. That is not a plan. That is a miracle. And miracles do not happen 4 times in a 7-game series. The analysts even said it themselves. They said, he didn't shoot the ball all that well. That is the understatement of the year. He shot horribly. He was awful from the field. And if the referees do not give him 16 free throws in Game 1, he finishes with 14 points and everyone is asking what is wrong with Jamal Murray. But instead, ESPN is calling him a playoff riser. A playoff riser does not shoot 31% from the field. A playoff riser does not miss every three-pointer he takes. A playoff riser does not need the referees to bail him out on every single drive. Jamal Murray is a great player. I am not saying he is not. But this game was not a masterpiece. This game was a survival game. And surviving Game 1 at home against the Timberwolves is not the same as winning the series in 5 games. Now let me talk about Nikola Jokic. Another triple-double. 25 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists. Sounds like the MVP, right? Here is what they are not telling you. Jokic only attempted 4 shots in the first half. 4 shots. The best player in the world took 4 shots in the first half of a playoff game at home. That is not being gracious. That is not being generous. That is being passive. That is being slow to read the defense. And the only reason the Nuggets won is because Jokic finally woke up in the third quarter and decided to play basketball. The anal YSTS even admitted it. They said, "You would always like him to be more aggressive at the start." Exactly. And against a better team, against a smarter coach, that slow start gets you down 20 points instead of 10. And you do not come back from 20 points against the Timberwolves in the playoffs. Not when Anthony Edwards is on the other side. Not when Minnesota has length and athleticism and defense. And here is the biggest problem that ESPN is completely ignoring. The Nuggets bench. The analysts talked about how the bench gave them a spark. They were +6 in the non-Jokic minutes. Great. But do you know who the Timberwolves bring off the bench? Naz Reid. Jaden McDaniels. Bones Highland. That is real depth. That is scoring. That is defense. And the Nuggets bench is not winning that battle for 4 more games. They won it tonight. Barely. And they needed every single second of it because the starters were asleep for the first 12 minutes. So let me ask you a question. What happens in Game 2 when Jamal Murray does not get 16 free throws? What happens when Jokic takes 4 shots in the first half again? What happens when the Timberwolves actually make their 3-pointers? Because in the third quarter, Minnesota shot 26% from the field. 26%. That is not the Nuggets' defense being elite. That is the Timberwolves missing open shots because they are young and nervous and playing in a loud arena for the first time. That goes away in Game 2. That goes away in Minnesota. And when it goes away, the Nuggets are in trouble. The analysts kept talking about the Nuggets showing resolve. They kept talking about the energy and effort in the third quarter. But resolve is not a strategy. Energy is not a game plan. Effort does not win championships when the other team is more talented. And let me be clear about something. The Timberwolves are more talented than the Nuggets. Not at the top. Jokic is the best player in the series. But 1 through 9. Minnesota is deeper. Minnesota is younger. Minnesota is hungrier. And the Nuggets just showed everyone that they can be punched in the mouth at home. That is not a team that wins in 5 games. That is a team that survives in 7 games if they are lucky. The analyst Chris Dempsey said the Nuggets have a 13-game win streak right now. That is cute. That is regular season stats. The playoffs are different. The playoffs are about matchups. The playoffs are about adjustments. And the Timberwolves just spent 48 minutes learning exactly how to attack the Nuggets. They learned that Jamal Murray cannot shoot right now. They learned that Jokic will spend the entire first half trying to pass instead of score. They learned that the Nuggets bench is average at best. And they will adjust. Chris Finch is a good coach. He is going to watch this film and he is going to see the same things I am seeing. And in Game 2, the Timberwolves are going to come out and they are going to attack Jamal Murray on defense. How are you going to make Jokic beat them as a scorer from the opening tip? They are going to pressure the bench and force turnovers. And when that happens, the Nuggets are going to wish they had played harder in Game 1 instead of just surviving. So here is what I want you to take away from this video. The Denver Nuggets are a good team. Nikola Jokic is a generational talent. Jamal Murray is a playoff performer. But they are not winning this series in 5 games. They are not winning this series in 6 games. This series is going to 7 games. And in that 7th game, in Minnesota, with the crowd going crazy and Anthony Edwards playing 48 minutes, I am not sure the Nuggets have enough. ESPN can say Nuggets in 5 all they want. That is hype. That is ratings. That is not reality. The reality is the Nuggets just escaped. They did not dominate. They did not send a message. They survived. And surviving is not a championship formula. Subscribe to the channel if you want real playoff analysis. Not the ESPN narrative. Not the box score lies. Just the truth. And comment below. Am I wrong? Is this series over in 5? Or are the Timberwolves taking this to 7 games and making the Nuggets sweat? I read every single comment. Now let me know your thoughts and get ready for Game 2.